the luxury of being the first of the almost post-Olympics dissemination of information and discussion, of which there will no doubt be many. And I think we have the luxury also of kicking off this kind of autumn season of conferences within the sector. It would be great if you can participate. I will throw it open to the audience, so do feel free, because I think that's the way that we'll get most out of this session.
Survey from Deloitte that showed, I think it was something like 42% of large companies already felt that they'd had a boost from the Olympics.
We're playing a long game. The games are about promoting Britain, introducing Britain back to the world in many respects, and as far as the government's concerned, everything we're working towards runs through to 2014-2015 in terms of additional visits and spend and the profile of Britain.
Yeah, we had exclusive use of the hotel for 3 weeks. Once we had secured that piece of business, which wasn't guaranteed by any means, we were able to command a premium because they were taking the entire venue, not just the bedrooms.
An awful lot of entertaining going on around the venue itself. There was a lot of hospitality, so from that point of view, we dipped on conference and banqueting, but for the rooms and accommodation, fantastic.
Companies that had a lot of American or Asian guests really wanted to be able to show the character and history of London. So to them it was a massive bonus that you perhaps had a structure that felt historically different from a kind of big hotel chain.
This is just about being a niche and targeting the niche.
Absolutely. It's also about understanding what your customer wants from you, and for those kind of high value, big spending customers, what they want is, I guess, a more bespoke personal event. Boutique hotels are probably perfectly set up for that, and that's what they're trying to provide to their clients, so it's kind of a chain that carries on.
We work quite closely with them anyway, and in general nothing to do with the Olympics, but I mean anything which they're doing to promote the Olympic movement going forward, or a spillover from that is very welcome. We're very happy to work along with any initiative that makes sense.
By no means can we take it for granted that beyond September and what have you, and certainly into next year, and we're still in certain uncertain times, I should say, around sort of the broader the markets. And I think we're going to have to work very, very hard and be very creative. And only the smartest hoteliers and operators, I think, are going to be successful in 2013.
But eventually, they always bounce back. And London specifically is a extremely strong market. And I think someone actually said if you take out January and February throughout the year, those 2 months and Sunday nights, London will be 100% full. So I think that sort of says that. I don't, the future is certainly not that gloomy in London.
10th of September, we're back in market, one of the biggest campaigns we've ever run. That's what it's about for us. It's as people sort of start to drift away from Britain, it's getting it back very much into people's focus.
It's about using kind of very, very personalised data, I guess, to try and help those people you already have contact with get the best out of their experiences.
So if I could offer any advice, it's to go after that longer traveler who needs to stay here for a longer period of time. Their spend is a lot higher. And if you could go after them with some type of emotional connection about how their host country did in London during the games, rekindle that romance. We found that about 65% of our visitors post-games were interacting with our Olympic sites, our rings, our statues, our mascots, whatever. Well, those all have to be banished, but anything Olympic related, they were really embracing emotionally post-games.
Tourism has never been so high on the government's agenda. We have Visit Britain people going into number 10 on almost weekly basis now. So from a position where it's always a bit of a Cinderella industry as far as central government's concerned, all of a sudden it is seen as properly as an export industry.
We've done specifically here at Hempel is we've been very aggressive in terms of the rates that we've quoted for groups, because we can secure a group at maybe a little bit less than we would like, it's often still more lucrative for us to do that than to have to end up, supplementing our occupancy with an OTA who's charging 25% commission as an example.
So do you actually see a stark difference between those people who book on somewhere like Expedia.com, walking through your door, to those people who might book through the Kiwi collection?
You try to be more selective about where you are available, and also at what rates you're available. And your rates on Kiwi may be different from your rates on, Booking.com or Expedia or something like that.
And I think you tend to get a customer who has a particular mindset, so it's a good cross-selling opportunity. So you go on to Mr. and Mrs. Smith intending to book a weekend in the Cotswolds, and you end up staying in the Hempel in London.
And people who will generally book at boutique hotels in an environment like London, Paris, New York, they're looking for something different, they're looking for something special, and I think what we must do is remember what differentiates us from the budget hotels or even 5 stars, which in a sense, now there's so many of them all looking to be 6-star, we have a unique quality. That's what constitutes boutique hotels. It's unique individuality and independence.
On the whole, I hope having had a strategy in place since 2009 that we've got a good plan for the next few years, and that if we're successful, if we bring those additional 4.5 million people into the country, then the benefits will be spread around the industry.
I think if you do that,
all that additional supply that's in the market should
absolutely easily taken up. Ruth,
one boutique hotel I went to had a LinkedIn group around kind of one of the big set of conferences it tended to run, and that was quite useful. You could join it, and then you ended up finding out information about other events that you hadn't even attended if you happened not to be in the place, which was New York at the time. And they were kind of adding these extra services through social media.
I think the reality is we do probably need to work a bit harder at saying, take your point about the story and what makes you unique, and how do I feed that and weave that message into the public domain, and particularly your qualified databases that you have access to. So for me, it's definitely an area I need to work harder at for my business, for sure.
Media, East End, it's all very up and coming now, so we will keep on plugging and slugging.
You can look ahead to the reopening of the Olympic Park late 13, early 14, and the events that will be held there, the renewed interest in that part of East London as well. I think it gives you a bonus as that sort of centre of gravity in London. Perhaps will shift that a little bit further east.
We're quite fortunate that East is...
You have something on the horizon, yeah. Great thing about the Olympics, it's put Britain on the map. The work that we've been doing has really built a stage for the industry to now step onto.
Yes, I think they're very successful for Brand Britain overall. I think individually for different sectors they're a bit of a mixed bag, and it will be a couple of years before we know how successful they were overall.
I think the event tonight was very useful because I think it's very rare that you have an opportunity to have different parts of the industry coming together, from hoteliers to travel agents to a government body like Visit Britain to journalists.
On future events, more hotels would benefit from being here because there's quite a lot of other people in the room that would be very interesting for hoteliers to meet.
I think it would be great to join another of your events, purely because the topics that we have in the industry now moving forward for the next 2 or 3 years, moving forward after the Olympics, will be really interesting to discuss and get an industry insight from different people.